Welcome to this exercise on experience curve effects. Here we have first this cost calculation given, which starts with the different parts of the production costs, adding then administration and sales costs, giving us in the end our prime cost calculation. Additionally, we have an information about the experience gains related to continuous production, which is more or less the same as gains we have due to process innovations. And they are expressed in the column here on the right. So with yearly outputs, we can add up those outputs, illustrating how much we gain by more and more production. And the more output we generate, the more experience we get, results in more experience gains. Of course, experience gains reduce over time. So we have cost-saving endeavors or experiences, but they will not reduce it by the same amount each year. Well, everything of this is quite interesting, but for our exercise, we will only require the information in the last column, which then gives us, based on the experience gain, our unit cost effects, meaning those multipliers expressed by how much, or by which factor, which multiplier, the cost displayed in this table up to the cost of production will be changing. So if I switch to the second year, first year I still have 100% of original costs. In the second year I only have 90% of the original costs. So I can multiply all of these values up to here with this multiplier of 0.9. That's actually also one of the two parts of our exercise. First, we should determine the percentage by which production costs drop during each year of production, and then we need to determine the prime costs in the second and sixth year of production. And well, for the first part, unit production cost decreases during each year of production. That basically means by what percentage do I change if I go 1 year further. And well, I can see this with the first 3 years already. Here I change from 100 to 90%, so a 10% decrease. Then I change from 90% to 81%, again a 10% decrease. Similarly, from third to fourth year, also 10% decrease, and continuing downwards. So in other words, each year which I continue with production, I manage to cut down my production costs per unit by 10%. Well, that already is my first part of the exercise. For the second part of the exercise, I need to adjust prime costs to the reduced per unit costs. Well, what does this mean? It means we first copy this cost calculation, the original cost calculation, then start with year 2 and consider the cost saving effect in year 2. So we have a multiplier of 0.9, multiply everything related to production with this multiplier of 0.9, giving us then those adjusted value up here and respectively new costs of production. I could also have applied it to administration overheads and sales overheads, since they're also just a percentage value of the cost of production. But I will just leave it like this and then recalculate those overheads, because as I said, this 0.9 represents process innovation of production. If I were to be talking about a cost reduction in administration or sales, I would talk about administrative or sales innovations. I do not have them here, so here I just leave this part to be recalculated with the given information here and just do the multiplier thing up to the cost of production. Well, I get still adjusted administration sales overheads. However, special costs of sale are fixed, are an absolute term, so they remain at 2, giving me then a newly calculated estimate for the prime costs. Then I do the same thing for year 6. Here, however, with a much smaller multiplier of 0.59. Again, multiply all the values in the original up to the cost of production with this multiplier, giving us these values. Then recalculate overheads and copy the special costs of sale, which remain the same. Then I add these 3 overheads and sales costs to the cost of production, giving me my new calculated prime costs. Well, that then was already the second part of this exercise. The first one we already talked about. So per year we have our production cost drop by 10%. Well, this concludes then this exercise. So I say goodbye and see you next time.